I think. I think all of mine are starting with me saying, I think we're live. Hold on one second. We're going to make sure. I'm going to go peek over at my page. Give time. Yep, there we are. All right. We're live. So, hello, everybody. It's Tuesday. It's a Tuesday after Thanksgiving. I also understand it's Giving Tuesday. So, we still have time. If there's a nonprofit you want to donate to, today is the day to do that. So, I wanted to bring that up. In my episode today, I'm really excited to bring to you a relationship expert, my guest, Dustin Bruley. And so Dustin, he and I met through, some business courses over the last few months. And he is an expert in relationships and in coaching men and working with children. And so I thought that was a perfect type of expertise to have on my show, because as a coach, I work in many different modalities, but I work mostly with the food, with mindset, with physical exercise and weight management. But that's only just part of somebody's life. Relationships, career, spirituality, joy, all of those things are really important as well. And so that's why when I found out what Dustin did, I wanted to bring on a relationship expert. So Dustin, welcome to my show, Your Personal Journey with Food. And yeah, just tell us a bit about yourself and what got you where you are today and doing this career. And take the stage.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I find that, talking about food, talking about relationships really go together, because, we have relationships with other people, we have relationships with ourselves, we have relationships with our food, and they all affect each other. How, our relationships with each other affect what we're eating affects how we interact with each other. So it's all connected. It's one big web.
It really is. And I think once we realized that, at least that was one of the biggest ahas I've ever had, was it's all connected. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. And to answer your question about my origin story.
Yeah.
So I am a dad of a little boy who's almost 5. And a few years ago, I was having a rough time in most areas of my life, in my health, in my finances, in my career, and especially in my relationships. And I say especially because that's what really affected all the other things more. When your personal relationships aren't going well, then that affects your performance at work and those sorts of relationships, and vice versa. When your work relationships aren't going well, it can affect your personal life. So again, the interconnectedness of it all. But I ended up going through a program where I got some trainings and got some coaching, and with the support of my coach, was able to really turn around those areas in a relatively short period of time. In about 6 months, I was, learning and implementing things that was setting my relationships on a different trajectory so that they would be healthier and more supportive and more resilient. And then once I had kind of that mindset of being able to do that, then I was able to implement that in making healthier choices for my body, for my mind, for my bank account. And so I saw how powerful that was, and I wanted to pay that forward. So I went through a coaching program myself to learn about coaching, and got certified through the Center for Self-Sustaining Leadership. And now I'm kind of focusing on men and parents to help them That's kind of my intersection as a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I've found through my own journey that there's a lot of female coaches that are specializing in coaching other women. And there's not a lot of men that are specializing in coaching other men. Or even parents in general. Most of the parent coaches I've seen have also been women, moms. So yeah, I want to offer that support because, sometimes dads want to talk to other dads. Sometimes men want to talk to other men. And sometimes moms want to talk to someone who is a dad that's not their partner so that they can have that kind of outside perspective.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. In fact, my dad talked to me the other day, he messaged me, he goes, you need more programs focused on men. And it's interesting that you're saying that because he's like, hey, what about us? And I said, it's true. And we can, we do need to remember that it's not just it's not women only that need coaching or should seek it out. Looking for coaching and support doesn't mean you're weak. And so, having men realize it's fine, it's great. You can go get coaching and relationship coaching and things like that. And so having you do that is phenomenal because it's definitely needed. I mean, and so I agree. Yeah, it's interesting. You definitely saw a need out there.
Yeah, there's this kind of sense in society, well, American society anyway, I can't speak for other parts of the world, but that, women, it's kind of more socially acceptable for women to be like, oh, I'm hiring a life coach or something like that, or a relationship coach or a business coach or whatever it is. And not so much for men. But at the same time, if men were playing football or basketball or hockey or, you would definitely have a coach. You would not expect to win the Super Bowl if you didn't have a coach. You wouldn't expect you would make the playoffs without a coach. So you can be the greatest quarterback in the world, but you need someone with an outside perspective that can say, oh, okay, you did this really well. Maybe if you tried tweaking this thing, you'd be able to get more touchdowns.
Right. And I think too, or we look at, the stereotypes again of men, it's great. You can go get business coaching and all those kind of things, sports coaching and stuff. But again, talking about relationship coaching, and I believe that I think we're getting better at that and breaking those stereotypes and realizing we are all human beings and we are meant to be working with other people and integrated and, getting support and anyway, for me, I'm in my 50s, but there was this whole, I remember the 80s, the 70s, and especially in the 80s and 90s, there was very much a stereotype of what type of role, that aggressive role or whatever it might have been for power or whatever was okay for guys to go for, but girls not. And just, I'm so happy it's all breaking up and we're all realizing that if we get support in relationships and we understand how to work with other people, and that it makes a big difference. So tell me about, go ahead.
I was just going to add on to that in that same vein that, those kind of stereotypes and kind of the cultural expectations, we've all grown up, regardless of what generation you're in, as long as you're, maybe under, 70, you've probably grown up with like Disney movies. And so, we all grew up with those and we go, oh, okay, this is how we get that imprinting when this is how relationships work, like this happens, then this happens, and this happens, and they live happily ever after. Or even you watch, romantic comedies or something like that. Like, oh, there was this thing happened, and then there was some trouble, and they figured it out, and then they were good for the rest of their lives. And that's something I've had to learn just from personal experience and from coaching, is that to kind of let go of the idea that oh, this should be easy. I shouldn't have to do this stuff. I should be able to kind of coast and things just work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's okay to admit that, okay, this is hard sometimes, and it's helpful to have that outside perspective, and it's helpful to have someone there to be supportive and to just say, okay, let's celebrate what's going well and tweak what isn't going as well, and just get that clarity of, all right, where are you right now, whether it's in your in your health or like your business, like we said, or in your relationships, and where would you like them to be? Yep. And let's get you from where you are to where you'd like it to be.
Yeah. And sometimes that assessment is one of the hardest things to do. I know, I follow a lot of, self-help, and several of my favorite, mentors that I follow, you have to do an assessment. And I actually, with my co-author with my book, we decided, let's do an assessment. And sometimes it's just like, you don't want to see it, realize it. But once you know, and once you realize where you're at, then you can make decisions and steps to progress and to change the situation. But if we aren't willing to look, and we aren't willing to see it, then it'll fester and stay longer. So having courage to say, hey, I'm willing to look at it, and I'm willing to give, I want to give Dustin a call. I'm willing to look at it and see what someone might be able to do to help me in a situation that I'm having. So yeah, I agree. It's fun. I just love the whole arena, because and I'm sure you feel the same, once you see that the aha moment with somebody, it's really wonderful, and they'll never be the same again. That you just made an amazing connection of something that's going to help them. So explain. I know you want to work a lot with men, and then also with parents and kids. So fill me in a little bit about that dynamic and how you coach in that arena to help with the relationships, not only with the parent, but also with their child.
Well, generally, I'm coaching the parent to so that they can kind of strengthen their relationship with their partner, with their co-parent, and sometimes those are the same person, and sometimes they're not. Yeah. And I'd like to say that every parent is co-parenting, whether they're still married to their child's other parent or not, because if your co-parent is in another household, well, then you need to balance that, especially during COVID. You need to balance out, like, okay, how much say do you have in this other person's life, with at the same time, like, needing to kind of keep your bubble small, your pod small, and knowing, kind of who the child is interacting with when they're with the other parent, and what your priorities are, what your values are, being on the same page with that. And those are the same things that you need to be kind of in alignment with when you're living with the other parent as well. Because just because you're married to them doesn't mean you always agree on every decision.
What?
Yeah, so exactly that piece, and then also the piece of relationships that the person I'm coaching has with their kids and with their parents sometimes. Because I know for me, when I was going through that initial coaching, I improved my relationship with my son's mom, and I improved my relationship with my son, and I improved my relationship with my mom. So it worked on multiple levels all at once.
Wonderful. I love that. So yeah, so you're working with someone, either both parents and like you said, it could be a single parent, but to be able to navigate all of the complexities involved with parenthood, and then also being able to raise a child that is, grounded, and you mentioned something on your website about helping them. How can we as parents help our children feel more stable in who they are, and not get caught up in some of the stuff that we got caught up in? Maybe we talk about it as breaking the chain, of dynamics that need to change within a family. So it sounds like you work on stuff like that with your clients.
Yeah, that idea, again, something I've worked on personally myself.
Yeah.
Of kind of breaking patterns and setting a new standard, kind of being a leader in your own family, and saying, just because that's the way things have always been doesn't mean that's the way things always have to be or are going to be. Because rather than just kind of going with the flow of this is what my parents did, and that's what their parents did, and that's what their parents did, I'm standing up and kind of breaking that pattern, breaking that chain, breaking that cycle, whatever word you want to use, and setting a new standard and saying, no, we are going to do this. These are our values. This is where we're headed.
Yeah.
And that way the kids don't have to, unlearn so much stuff when they become adults.
Yeah. And it's just, you look at all relationships with humans, and like we say, relationships with food, all of that, they're just so intricate and detailed. So sometimes, again, just having another person to run things by and bounce things off of, so important. Let's see. Oh, yes. So you, like you said, have a young son, right? And so you had some time with your child being home because of COVID.
Yeah.
There's so many parents out there right now that are going through that. So do you have any tips of mindset or stress relief, organization? What could that be? Well, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so a few things that have been lifesavers for me. One has been, I think the biggest one, for my son anyway, has been avoiding power struggles by turning things into a game. Because, if every decision is going to be a power struggle, then it's going to be a rough go. Whether it's, even if you get through the day, then you've got 6 more just to get through the week. And then you got to get through the month, and then however many months this is going to go on for. So that's been huge for me is, things like, you don't want to get dressed. Well, let's see which one of us can get dressed faster. Who's going to win the race? Dressed like that.
Yeah.
And so, that's a big thing with him is like racing, against another person, or like in a timer, racing against the clock, stuff like that. And then another piece has been having a consistent schedule, like a routine.
Okay.
So not that it has to be down to the minute, but just knowing, okay, when we get up, this is our routine of what we do. We get up, we go to the bathroom, we get dressed, we have breakfast, in that order, or whatever it is for anyone watching. And the same at night with, okay, we have dinner, we put our dishes away, we take a shower, we go to the bathroom, brush our teeth, go to bed. Again, whatever order and whatever specific things you have. Like for my son, I always read him 2 books at night. I tuck him in and read him two kids' books, and then kiss him good night. And so, some people might do 1 book, some people might do 3 books, some people might not do books, and they might have a different tradition in their household. But just having that consistency so that they know what to expect, I think is helpful, because when there's uncertainty, there's anxiety, and then that can manifest itself in acting out. Yep.
I'm just writing this down. So
all right, taking notes.
Well, yeah, I know. And then you think about it, you have a parent who's used to going to work, and you bring all this together, and what you just said too equates, uncertainty creates anxiety in children and adults, I mean, and so we're in very uncertain times. And so, I like the idea, even for us adults, keeping a schedule of some sort at home, even if if you're working at home, or if you've been one that's been laid off, can you create a schedule for yourself? Because uncertainty does create anxiety. I love that. I love how you said that. So for those of us that don't have kids at home anymore, we should still have a schedule. So it'll help the adults in us as well. Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. So schedule, games, make it a game, make some games, and and then just hold on.
Yeah, well, and another thing that's been helpful, because I know those are more geared towards the kids, but another thing for the parents is in those moments when it gets really difficult and you're kind of at your wit's end, just remembering that you're not alone, that even if you're a single parent and it's just you and the kid, and you might be physically alone there, that you're actually not. That there's a lot of other people going through the exact same thing all over the world, not even just in this country. And so just knowing that, even if you don't have the time or the ability to connect with them, say you're focused solely on your child, and so you can't take an hour to do a Zoom call or 5 minutes to make a phone call or whatever it is, just knowing that, I've found is reassuring. And then if you can do something, if you can do a Zoom call, if you can make a phone call to someone, if you can, have someone who's like a coach that you can reach out to for support, then I've found all of those things personally really helpful. Or if you have a little bit extra time and you're so inclined, you can pray or you can meditate, and I found that helpful too.
Yeah. There's breathing techniques as well. I'm reading another really great book, but where the analogy is the word stop, and it just means you literally stop, take a moment, let your brain rest for a second, process, and then you move on. And because during these times, things are so, again, uncertain, and our brains like certainty. So yeah, meditation, stopping, taking a moment. I think, again, one of the stereotypes I'm really happy to be seeing going away is that taking care of yourself means you're weak, or if you're stressed, you're weak. If you can't handle it, you're weak. It's not true. We're human beings. We aren't meant to be acting under stress all the time. And so, yes, what you said, taking care of yourself is so important, even in little minutes at a time.
Yeah, you can take, 3 breaths. Take time to take 3 breaths. Then it'll just give you a chance to kind of, get a little more centered. And I know for me, a few years ago, before I went through this process, I was trying to work full time and be the sole provider for my family. So I was trying to provide for 3 people. And then when I would get home from work, do the cooking for everyone for dinner, and then wanting time to play with my son and to tuck him in and read him stories and stuff like that. And then by the time that was all done, well, it was pretty much time to go to bed. So that I would have any sort of energy for the next day. And so, I just kind of was taking everything on and saying, okay, well, I have to do everything. Which I thought was helpful and which really wasn't. So I had to learn to be able to trust other people to take some of that for themselves and to take on what was mine to take on and not take on everyone else's stuff.
Yes. I think that's important. Emotionally taking it on or physically taking it on, we are not meant to do that. Yep. Yeah. I like that. And I think realizing and setting those boundaries as to what you really can do versus what you or what you can control, what you can't control, and learning to know the difference and being okay with that, right? Something like that, I think is the quote. Yes. Yeah. So great. So how, I wanted to change this. You had something you have an opportunity for people. I'm getting fancy on this whole
all right.
StreamYard. See how I did that?
Oh, there it is.
So you have
if you just change it from Justin to Dustin, we'll be all set.
Oh shoot! See, I'm not. Oh, embarrassing. We will be all set. My apologies.
That's okay. You're not the first person to make that mistake, and you won't be the last.
I was really proud of myself because I did it earlier and I found it and I corrected it. There you are.
I don't know who Dustin Bruley is, but that's some other guy.
He's out there somewhere.
So if people want to check out my website, it's dustinbruley.teachable.com, and it's on the screen there. And when they go there, there's a button right at the top where they can click to sign up for a resilient relationship rescue call, which I'm doing one complimentary for all of your viewers.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. So that way we can just kind of check in, see where they're at. And like I was talking about before, kind of get that clarity around where they are, where they would like to be, and how to get from where they are to where they'd like to be with their partners, with their children, with their parents, with all of their relationships, really. And just kind of look at that holistically. Because like I said, it's kind of this interesting phenomenon of once you figure out how to really get one of your relationships, healthy and supportive and resilient, it spills over into all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of those relationships is within yourself.
Yes, exactly.
It's this person that you live with in the body that you have. And if that relationship is volatile and hostile, it's very challenging to create the relationships outside, that are ones that can support you if you don't know how to take care of this one, So
yeah, exactly.
I know you probably work with that as well. So,
so I would say to everyone watching, if you're feeling that overwhelm, that I talked about, of kind of having all that weight on your shoulders and feeling like you kind of need to do everything, or even if you're, things are going pretty well, but they're just not where you'd like them to be, and you're not sure what to do, and you need the outside perspective to provide you that support and guidance. then I would say just, check it out. It's complimentary. There's no obligation or anything like that. You don't need to enter anything other than your email address, so I know where to send the Zoom link to. And and in my experience, pretty much everyone leaves the session just feeling, lighter, feeling renewed and re-energized and inspired to kind of go forward, knowing like, yeah, I can have a good relationship. I'm not just stuck in these patterns.
Absolutely. And I love that, so, if you're watching this, Dustin's a great guy. You're just someone so easy to talk to. And I would really recommend, take him up on that offer and let him know when you sign up that you saw him here. And I do see one comment over here.
Oh, a comment.
Yeah. So one was my dad said hi.
Hi, Dad.
And then there's another comment. It says, I find that it's hard to ask the questions needed to understand my relationship with myself, as Tracy is stating right now. Yeah. It's, what do you ask yourself, to help move forward, So, yeah.
Yeah, I know Louise Hay did a lot of work around that with mirror work, about the idea of being able to look in the mirror in your own eyes and and be okay and be happy with who you see and love who you see and not resent the person you see in the mirror.
Yep. And I'd love to talk about this a little bit longer, because it's true. We have whatever was put into our mind as to what we were supposed to act like, supposed to look like, whatever we were supposed to be. And if that doesn't sit with us, it can really, really make it hard to look in the mirror. Because I know for me, how many years I walked this earth feeling like I was a chameleon, because I was afraid to voice my opinion or, for fear that whatever I might say would cause challenges in my relationships, and then if there was a challenge, obviously it would be my fault because I was not worthy to be who I really was. And so I love, so learning to create that relationship with yourself and it's really, doing that work and like you said, looking in the mirror, like, I love her. She's just, I'm in her Facebook group. I'll have to put that in there, Louise. And I love that you brought that up because that means I really get your kind of coaching. I get what I love if you're working on stuff like that. That's incredible. Yeah.
Well, it also reminds me just what you were saying about Tony Robbins talks about identity being the strongest piece of personality that whatever, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not quoting him, but the idea that kind of the story you tell yourself determines the actions that you'll take. So to your example, if you were telling yourself, oh, I screw things up, oh, I make people upset with me, then you might do things without even realizing it that will make people upset with you because it's going to upset them and that's going to get that reaction that's going to reinforce your belief. Whereas if or you were saying like the chameleon idea, like if you think, oh, I can't have kind of strong beliefs and strong opinions of my own, then you're not going to ever really feel grounded because you're going to be constantly shifting.
Yep.
And so if you go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go ahead. You were going to finish the sentence. Sorry.
Oh yeah. I was just going to say, similarly, if your identity is, something like, oh, I'm someone who always says always does what I'm going to say, or always finishes, what I agree to, or something like that, then similarly, you will find a way to do that, even if it's not obvious. So, you'll find a way to be congruent with your own kind of image of yourself, for better or for worse.
Yeah,
and that's why it's so important to change the mental image of yourself to someone that you actually want to be.
Right. And then what's interesting, the other thing too, is as I started to realize that you don't ever have if you do not step forward as your authentic self and allow that, and honor that person who you are, it's very hard to have the right people around you, because you'll never find they won't know you're there. You won't be attracting that type of person. And so being brave to step forward as your true self will, and I take it as like I'm stepping with a toe, and I'm going to step into the light, and okay, this will be fine. But taking that moment and saying, we don't need to be chameleons. We have we're worthy of stepping forward as our best selves and honoring honoring ourselves and being worthy of, the fact that we're here and we're able to live and learn on this planet. So, so anyway.
Yeah, like you said about stepping your toe over, it's scary sometimes if it's something you're not used to, and if it's something that you're worried that people are going to judge you or something like that. It reminds me of the idea of explorers hundreds of years ago having the maps that said, like, this is the edge of the world. don't go over that line, or else you're finished. And so it's that idea of like, oh, this is the world that I'm used to, and I can't go over that line, or else it's unfamiliar. I don't know what's over there. Yes. Then sometimes you cross the line, you're like, oh, this is great. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner.
Yeah. And it's interesting, and it's educating our mind, because our mind is, I believe that our brain's always kind of, with what it knows, it thinks it's doing the best it can. And it figures you're still breathing. So must be doing okay. Right. And it doesn't know any different until we teach it. And having that side of us strong enough to take the step, to make the phone call for a free coaching session, those types of things that may seem scary. The brain then starts to trust. It starts to realize, oh, it's actually pretty nice. Feels pretty good to be centered and rooted. So, yeah. Is there anything else? I know we've hit, darn it, we're already at, where's my time clock?
It's like 38 minutes.
Yeah, so it goes so fast.
I know. It's a little longer than we'd planned on, but we were having a good conversation.
It's really good conversation, though. So, well, before we go, any other tip you would like to leave us with, or anything you'd like to tell us before we have to say goodbye?
Well, aside from what I'd said earlier, I would say just kind of, stick with the foundations, breathe. Even if you need to set a timer on your phone to go off every hour, just to check in to make sure that, you're not all tense, and that you kind of drop your shoulders, release your jaw, take 3 deep breaths.
Now, everybody, pull your shoulders back.
Right. There's been, I don't know the numbers, but there's been a huge increase of people grinding their teeth that dentists are finding during COVID. So, I mean, if it's when you're sleeping, you can't do as much about it, but if you're less stressed during the day, then you'll be less stressed at night. So yeah, just try to stop and take a breath and drink some water. That's, there are more groundbreaking things to say, but they don't really work if you're not doing the foundational pieces.
Foundation first. May not be pretty and fancy, but hey, yes. So shoulders back, relax, check in with your body, jaw, all those things. Breathe. Nice into the diaphragm. I like that. Those are great words to send everybody off with. So again, Dustin, it's been a pleasure talking with you. And I'm glad that you've stepped into the work you're doing now, and you're going to help so many people. So yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for having me here, and look forward to talking to you again soon, and to talking with some of your viewers and helping them see how I can help them get to where they want to be in their relationships.
Awesome. Fantastic. Feel free to put in any, I think I share this in various places, but go into the chats and say hi to people, and go ahead and put your contact information or whatever you'd like to put there. The link, to your page. And all right. So thanks again, and we'll talk to everybody soon. And again, it's Giving Tuesday. So if you have a nonprofit you can give to today, please get that in. All right. Talk to everybody later. Bye-bye.
All right.
Justin, stay where you are. Don't go away yet. Okay.